All right.
No. All right. Let me try this again. Now we're live. We got sound coming from somewhere.
I'm getting an echo.
Um,
I'm all muted. Oh, it's my phone.
check your phone. Yeah. Anyway, I'll start over. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. We are coming to you live from the Wingate. I have a cold, so forgive my voice. We're doing a driver orientation and trying to fight through some technical food that we're dealing with here, trying to get everything working. So bear with us for a moment while. Are you good now?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
You should see our technical setup here. I wish you could see this table right here. Oh,
It looks like
the
quite 1,000
well,
snakes.
when we're home, everything's all neatly tucked away.
All right. But William is saying Mike has static from me, but I don't hear that.
I don't either.
Huh.
You sound good to me.
That is strange.
William's probably been drinking.
Yeah, because I hear what you hear. So
Yeah.
Let me back up off of it a little bit.
At first he said no sound. Then he said
Yeah,
static.
because I had the damn thing muted.
Oh,
you know.
okay. That makes sense.
We've had like 6 different devices plugged in here to try to get this podcast going. So that's created some challenges for us. Okay, so they're saying it's clipping. So, okay,
And now I don't hear you.
hang on a second.
Now I do hear you.
All right. How about now? Is that better? Well,
I don't hear you in my headset. I hear you, just in a room.
I think what's happening is it's clipping coming out of this device. It's getting too much signal going in there.
Can you hear me in your headset?
No. They're having some kind of issue.
Now I hear you.
Right. Well, the problem is something's wrong between this device and the. All right, hang on a minute. I'm on. Y'all bear with us. Put this here. Okay, now let's make sure. Audio codec. Okay, how we coming at you now? It's going to be harder for us to hear each other, but all right, somebody talk to me.
Check one. Check one.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Audio.
Let me bring it up on my phone.
Rocky, I'm always the clear one, okay? You should know that by now. All right. If there's a sketchy one, it's that one over there.
Well, if you kind of think about it, the fact that we've done this trouble-free so many times. Well, if you kind of think about it, the fact that we've done this trouble-free so many times. If you kind of think about it. Okay, so it's repeating. Well, I know that was because of that. Bro, I don't know.
We probably should put an advertisement out for a professional production manager.
Yeah.
Anybody out there know anything about audio and video needs a job? Maybe the trucking business not working out very well for you right now.
All right, I made another change, and I'm going to make one more here. If that doesn't help, so y'all keep talking. That fixed it. Okay, it was a setting.
Okay.
All right,
good.
We're good to go.
All right.
Well,
we're back. Let's see, we're 5 minutes late.
More editing work. All right, so everybody just pretend like the last 5 minutes didn't happen.
It happened.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast, coming at you live from the Wingate by Wyndham and Hurricane. We're doing another orientation this weekend, and we're not having any audio problems whatsoever.
That's Chris. This is Larry.
I'm Chris. He's Larry. It's a TikTok star right over there.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, it's amazing the way that that we can even do this. with a browser.
we
Well,
can do it, yeah,
I got
for
that.
sure.
But I mean, seriously, with the fact that this microphone, technically speaking, could literally reach 1 billion people through this device.
That's scary. Don't talk like that.
And relatively speaking, it's, I mean, very, very inexpensive. A friend of mine's dad used to be kind of a mega church guy, and he would do this weekly show, and they would record it and put it on television,
Right.
I think on Saturdays.
Right.
Y'all, it was like $15,000 an episode or something. It was stupid expensive. And here we are with a couple of iPads and a couple of mics and able to just, it's just, so it's, we've got
let me give you another perspective on that. I just got an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Whoopie doopie whooper.
He thinks he's big stuff, y'all.
The camera on it is a 48 megapixel camera. Okay. Now this phone cost about $1,000. All right. Was 12.9 megapixels and probably cost $10,000.
That's incredible.
This is 4 times that. And it's $1,000. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
Hey, Purple Yeti gave me 5. Listen, we did this long enough.
He said, "This is
for you.
For mine. Thank you. That's my $5."
Come on, dude.
So I'm fighting a cold, or at least what we used to call a cold.
See,
back
that's
in the old
sympathy
days.
money. Y'all feel sorry for me throwing $5 at him, okay? Listen, y'all, I'm the one who has to work with him. You should be feeling sorry for me, okay?
So, well, it's getting wintertime. I'm seeing, that white stuff starting to fall. So everybody,
It was yesterday.
You need to start winterizing your truck. You need to have good supplies with you. You need to have some anti-gel in the truck. I saw somebody said it's going to be like 0 in Bozeman, Montana. No,
who cares?
Thank you. I will pass on that.
I've never been in Bozeman, Montana. I don't plan on starting.
Listen, I think everybody should. You don't have to do it in a big truck, but everybody ought to drive across 94 out to Washington, because it's gorgeous, dude. You can't even imagine how, especially coming from Idaho into Washington and that drive. It's like going through 3 different regions. It's just and pictures just can't do it justice. You ought to drive out there one time.
Well, I'm getting on a big bird Saturday, and I'm flying to West Palm Beach. It is not 0 down there.
That's not very much. That's not very much fun. He gave you $5.
Excuse me, but it is.
Purple Yeti gave you $5. He's
all right. Look at you. Thank you, Purple Yeti.
Equal opportunity.
I'll buy me a drink with that in Florida. Okay, so thank you.
But wintertime presents its challenges for truckers. And I do this terrible thing every year when it gets to be about 90, and I promise myself and everybody else that I'm not going to whine and complain when it gets cold, and then I break that promise every time it gets cold.
Yeah.
Because I'm over it. Of course, I've got a cold right now, so that makes it even worse.
You didn't have that cold before today?
Well, I've been working on it for a couple of days. I've been trying to suppress it with vitamins.
I told Mary Lou she said, "Well, does he have COVID?" I said, "I don't think he's got COVID." I don't know.
I've never had a COVID test in my life. I don't figure I'm going to anytime soon. Anyway, let's get back to productive conversation here.
Jeez.
I'm wondering.
Well, we better acknowledge our sponsor for
go ahead and do that. You're really good at that.
We're brought to you exclusively by Pittsburgh Power. We are stocking distributors of the OPS products, the oil purification system. Their sponsorship. So
sorry, guys. I'm so used to being able to mute myself that I went to cough, but you and I are both in the same feed, so I muted you too. So apologies.
Well,
we'll get it together. Sorry about that, guys.
we'll replug the sponsor periodically
do that.
during the thing. So,
And the static is back. God almighty. What in the world is happening tonight?
hearing the static now,
You are.
a little bit in my earpiece.
Well, it probably couldn't be that we've got 17,000 cables here. And yeah, see, that's.
Is there any wonder why you got static right now, everybody?
Okay. I'm going to move some stuff around here. Okay, they said it fixed. Don't anybody breathe.
Don't touch anything.
Don't move. Just stand pat.
Stand pat. Bill, you have what we call an LTF where I'm from. You have a low thrill factor if this is your entertainment hour, okay?
Well, somebody had made a comment, 10 count stories. Let's get started with this because this will go well with what I was going to talk about. Larry the businessman. Any advantage to start LLC in January versus December? More expenses when you start versus income.
No, not really.
I kicked a 1099 Hornet's Nest on TikTok yesterday, so we can kind of blend all this together.
No, the S corp election would be much better to have it done before March, so you can retroactively go back and make it up to start back at January 1. The LLC, not really. It doesn't really matter. If you have an LLC and a sole proprietorship in the same year, you got to file 2 tax returns. So it would save you from having to do that if you started fresh on January 1. The LLC, you would only have to do 1 tax return in that fiscal year. So that would be the only advantage. But it doesn't. There's no penalty other than the fact that you got to file a tax return for whatever you do as a sole proprietor, and then what you do as an LLC. So
now, if you're starting that LLC in December of say 22,
don't wait and start on January.
Right,
then you have to file one tax return.
Right, and then you don't, and then you have the S corp election that you can make before March. Right,
right, and then it would be retroactive back to January 1. You can make the S corp election in December, but you've got until March to make it for that current year. So
okay. So we did an episode. I believe it was 54. It was when we were still doing audio only. I think we started at 50, maybe 60 or so was when we started doing video. And we did this episode called "Don't Get Pimped: 1099 versus W-2." And
I guess because it wasn't a video, it didn't get traction like the rest of them did.
Correct.
So, now you've kicked the hornet's nest all over the place.
Boy, did I ever!
We're
So, and we've referenced this many times. The 1099 versus W-2, and I don't even. Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. So, in making these TikToks to try to get some marketing going for the podcast, you just take a little clip. And so I was watching, I think 134, was watching it back, and somebody asked this question. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. And it fit in 3 minutes. Put it up on TikTok, and instantly, 10,000 views in about an hour. And buddy, here come the comments. And I don't really understand why this is so controversial, especially in light of AB 5. But I said in the TikTok, I said, look, you will not find a more rapid opponent to taxation than me. Taxation is theft perpetrated by a criminal gang. I don't think it's virtuous. I don't think it's noble. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm not in favor of taxation. Okay. However, the IRS is the most efficient, well-funded collection agency on the planet.
Just expanded 87,000 new agents.
Well, so they say that.
With guns.
So what I presented there in this 3-minute TikTok was, if you allow someone to pay you on a 1099, they are stealing from you 7.62% of your income that you have to pay now in self-employment tax, which is actually, according to the law, the employer's responsibility. And here they come. Well, some truck drivers would rather be paid on 1099. I'm like, yeah, some truck drivers are dumb and can't do math. But Larry has illustrated many times on this program what happens if the IRS gets wind of you improperly misclassifying an employee and all of the bad stuff that's going to happen if you do that. And so all we're saying is, if you're going to have a legitimate business that does legitimate business things, then you should pay your employees correctly and not turn them into contractors, which they are not. Period. According to the 21 or 22? 22 question.
No, I looked up today. They've changed that. Now that form, that SS8 form has been changed. It's 20 questions now.
20 questions.
And I did a lot of research on that today. They've changed that form considerably. But here's the thing. They're shifting toward AB5. They're shifting toward a three-question thing. It's still out there, but it is being replaced. From what I can read, it's been replaced with the AB5 three-question form, of which there's not any chance of anybody passing Section B of that form, of that new questionnaire.
Right.
So it's going to...
Which is a separate issue, okay? Look, self-employed people make terrible slaves, okay? Self-employed people have to they have to write checks, okay? And now Phil's saying the static is back. God almighty. I don't know what to do, y'all.
Do we have to use that little USB device? Can we just go?
I bypassed it. I've even bypassed my computer. I'm going straight into the iPad now.
Who touched the card? I haven't touched anything, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you what, y'all are going to have to probably just...
is it bad enough that you can't hear?
Well,
it's funny because I hear it fine. I hear, if we're hearing what they're hearing, I hear fine.
Then the problem is from here. Let me see. Let me take this out because I don't need that anymore.
You quit touching shit over there, okay?
I haven't touched anything.
You probably drip snot on something.
Well, Left Lane Gang says it's listenable. The problem is it's going to be useless for an audio podcast, so I'm going to have to fix it, and that's kind of the problem. I don't know how to fix it without kind of tearing down and starting over. So why don't y'all just embellish us for 5 minutes?
Embellish us?
Yeah, I believe that. Isn't that no?
That's add to us, improve on us. Oh. They definitely could do that.
Well, yeah. Here's what I'm going to do.
It's only when you're speaking. We'll just be quiet then. Just smile for it.
So okay. I'm just gonna turn the.
Now I'm getting.
I'm gonna turn this music on, and y'all bear with us for just a minute. That music is terrible. I mean, terrible. Okay.
We're back. Are we?
We should be. Can you hear us now? Somebody talk to me. I moved some stuff around.
We must be on a delay. Is that possible too?
Yeah, it takes about 30 seconds for them to be able to hear.
All
Okay,
right,
sounds good.
sounds
All right,
good.
I'll
Purple
move some
Yeti,
stuff around.
Craig Davenport.
I played y'all some terrible music.
All right, we apologize for that.
Anyway.
We had to pause. What's that when they test the emergency broadcast system?
Yeah.
Except we didn't make it go.
Hey, don't do that.
We gave you music to test it. So our emergency broadcast system works. Had this been a real emergency,
Yeah.
we would have given you further instructions on how to bend over and put your head between your knees and kiss your ass goodbye.
Okay. So back to the subject matter at hand. What am I?
You were talking about how they were defending the 1099.
So which to me they're being passionately wrong, right? I guess some of that comes from, well, this is how I'm doing it, and I like doing it this way because I think I'm doing a good thing, and so I'm just going to defend it. And of course, then you had the other morons were clearly talking about trucking. Well, what if I'm a painter, bro? This is trucking. TikTok, you know. Let me try this. Bro, my iPad is completely freaking out right now. Okay, I made another change. Tell me if that is any better. God, what a train wreck.
22 minutes of train wreck to be exact.
It is. I'm just gonna go and make the audio. I'm just gonna knock the first half hour off of it. Okay. John Reynoldson says sounds great.
Okay.
Anyway, so I've been paid on a 1099 as a driver, and the way it was explained to me was that it was to my benefit. Oh, but you can look at all this stuff you can write off. And so the mathematical calculation that they're doing is that, well, yeah, I have to pay the 7.62, but look at all the stuff I get to write off that cancels that out. The problem is that's illegal. Like it or not, no matter what you think about it, it's illegal. And if they get a hold of you, they're going to make you wish you'd never done it.
Well, let me phrase it this way, okay? Because we're assuming here that there is a choice that someone's given to make. Either the person who's paying the employee or the contractor, or the contractor themselves. That's the fallacy in this whole thing. It's not a choice. There is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. That would be the same thing as saying, I choose not to keep records for the IRS. Okay? It's the same thing. You're breaking IRS regulations when you violate this 1099 regulation.
Right.
Okay? So you're assuming that someone has the ability to decide which one they want to be. That's the problem. You don't. If that's the case, why wouldn't everybody who works at Walmart choose to be a 1099 person?
Right.
Why couldn't they just make that choice? They can't because they're an employee. And if you drive a truck that you don't own, for somebody that owns the truck, you're not an independent contractor. You're an employee. The only reason it happens is because it's easier for the person who owns the truck to pay you. They're not having to pay the 7.62. They're not having to go out and get the workers' comp. They're not having to pay the unemployment. Okay, they're getting away with all these things they're required to do to be an employer in the state in which they live. Okay, so they're skirting all these because it's easy to do it that way, and they pass all the responsibility off to the person that they're paying, and that person, for some reason, is willing to accept doing that, which that's beyond me. That's the part I don't understand. Why would you defend doing that? Have you got that little self-respect? That's why we call it don't pimp pimp yourself out, because that's really what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. You're working for the dude. Okay. I don't understand it. And I don't listen. I don't care what you do. It's not me. Okay. But I'm just telling you that how long did you think you got away with running 2 logbooks? How long did you
Right.
think you got away with that? Look what the cure was. Okay. They're not stupid. Okay.
Right.
They're also broke and need money. All right. We got a lot of shit to pay for that got voted in the last few months that didn't get voted out last Tuesday. Okay. So there's a whole lot of stuff that's going to have to be paid for. They got no money to pay for it. Look at all the independent contractors out here that are doing this because they have no intention of filing a tax return. We had guys on here say, it doesn't matter if you don't file a tax return, who cares?
Oh, yeah.
So,
I mean, just pause on that for a second. I literally had comments in TikTok saying, quote, well, I don't file taxes, so it don't matter.
there you go.
Okay. That seems like a perfectly legitimate strategy.
Let me remind you of the 87,000 new IRS agents with AR-15s, okay? And who do you think they're going to target with those people? You think they might be coming after the independent contractors that don't pay any taxes?
Yeah.
You know? And this is exactly what AB 5 is designed to do. It's exactly what it's designed to do.
Well, and it's also designed to break
the spirit of the workforce.
The spirit of the individual.
Yeah.
When I went to pick up that abandoned truck in Wisconsin, I was come back through Chicago, and they had, I guess there was a ballot initiative or something up there about workers' rights. And I just personally despise the term workers, right? And if you listen to the news and you listen to a bunch of the, sign up for moveon.org emails, it's workers this and workers that and workers. That word is Marxist communism to strip you of your individual identity and get you to associate with a group, because groups can be controlled much easier than individuals can. And so they love to talk about workers because they see workers as a easily manipulatable group of people that can be forced, into a certain way. And so if I was in charge, which I'll never be, so you don't have to worry about it.
Thank God.
I would end withholdings and make everybody write a check to the government every month. Because if you wanted to fix what was wrong in a capitalistic society,
yes,
stop taking it out of their check and make them write a check.
Taxes is the single worst thing that we do as far as having worker complacency. Okay, people will actually go get a job, and all they ask about is what not what I make.
Mm-hmm.
What do I take home?
Yep.
They already assume that money is not there. It's their money. It's your money. The difference between somebody in business and somebody not is that we write that check. Okay? I write that check. And so you understand the pain of that. But if you're just little worker bee, and you're going to get a job, I'm working all week. I'm going to get home. We've had guys that come here and they have no idea what they made. Half the people we interview have no idea what their gross revenue or gross income is. Well, I come home with this. So I agree. Now, the problem with that is it would be a collection nightmare. It would be just like making everybody pay their own EFTA and not collect it when they pump diesel. It'd be the same problem. The collection would be unbelievably burdensome.
Yeah.
There'd have to be roadblocks set up and stop everybody and make you prove that you paid your IFTA or you've paid your, it would just be whatever. But to get back to my point, it's not a choice. That's why it's called misclassification. All right? It's not a choice. There is a guideline. It says, if you do this, this, and this, and this, you're an employee. If you do this, this, and this, you're a contractor. But it's really, really hard to honestly answer those questions and confuse the two. Now we get all this rationalization. Yeah, but I don't dispatch my drivers; they dispatch themselves. That doesn't change it. Okay, that doesn't change it. So anyway, I'm tired of defending it. Listen, I have stated what the regulation is. I've stated if you and besides all the legalities of it, if you're the kind of guy that you're going to hire your employees and let them pay almost 8% of your taxes for you, I don't see how you get employees anyway. You know, so that's up to you. You know, that's character, that's morality. But if that's how you get, if that's how you get off, is screwing your employees, and what am I? I'm not going to judge. Well, I am going to judge you too. You're an asshole, but it's none of my business. But you ask, so I told you.
So Craig Davenport asks, do y'all think there will be a diesel shortage, or is it all hype?
All right. Yeah, there's going to be a diesel shortage.
All right, listen.
Hey, if you need DEF, I got some. Okay.
All right, so check this out. In Google, you can search Google by date, right? Let's say you wanted to search something, a news story before, say, March 16th of 2020. If y'all remember what that date was, you would put before, no spaces, before, 2020 hyphen 03 hyphen 16. And Google will not show you anything after that date. I just put in after, 2022 hyphen 11 hyphen 08, after November 8th, 2022. And I searched the word diesel shortage. And guess what I found? U.S. won't run out of diesel in weeks, experts say. What a coincidence that after Election Day, the diesel shortage vanished. Remember the migrant caravan that just, they were coming by the millions, and it just, poof, just disappeared, right? So is it all hype? Yes, it's 100% BULLSHIT.
It's called fear-mongering, okay?
100%. And I don't know which side it was. It would make sense that the Republicans, because they were needing to win to make Brandon look bad, but who knows? You can't ever tell. But now, is there a supply problem with diesel? Yeah, absolutely. We're December 12th will be 1,000 days since March 6th.
Let me remind you of something that happened about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, when they required all these cargo ships to switch over to ULSD. Do you remember that fiasco? Mm-hmm. And how we weren't going to have any because all the ships, diesel-powered ships in the ocean, were going to use up all the ULSD we were going to have any? Mm-hmm. Did you ever hear of anybody not getting fuel?
No.
The only time we had a fuel problem was when that we had that grid hacking along the eastern seaboard. What was that company? There was a name of a fuel distribution company that got hacked, and we're running out of fuel at some of the stations up along the Atlantic seaboard. Do you remember that? Mm. But that wasn't a supply problem. That was just a computer problem, right? Grid problem. So what happened to monkeypox? Hey, they brought in the killer wasp. That's what happened. So
just the very first thing that I found from May 30th of 2019, shipping and trucking industries gearing up for new 2020 ocean vessel fuel mandate.
There you go.
I was looking for a date in this article, but I remember that Freightwaves was talking big about this. Craig Fuller was all over this about how this
Colonial. Thank you, Purpose. Colonial Pipeline. That's it.
This entire shipping industry had not been required to move to ultra low sulfur diesel, and all of a sudden they were getting ready to. And surprise, surprise, it happened in 2020. I wonder if that was a coincidence. Mm-hmm. But like I say, December 12th is going to be 1,000 days since March 16th of 2020, since 15 days to slow the spread started. That's a show day, by the way, so just everybody mark that down. But y'all, it's been almost 1,000 days since this operation began. And I just don't believe there's any coincidences anymore. Now, I don't believe that Biden's the answer and Trump's the solution and vice versa. I don't believe any of that. What I believe the solution is you. Because if you are in business to serve your customers and you do it well, you will succeed, regardless who's in the White House, regardless of who's in Congress, regardless of who wins the election, regardless of Trump and Putin and Zelensky. And you have got to stop being so distracted by this horseshit nonsense on television. Best thing I've personally ever done, and I did it in 2009, I believe. I completely disconnected from all national news and talk radio. I don't watch Fox, I don't watch CNN, I don't watch NBC, I don't watch any of it. I stopped listening to talk radio, and it took me about 2 years, maybe 3. I felt like I still needed to connect to the local news. Then I realized it's worse than the national news. And so I don't watch news, period. Now, does that mean I'm uninformed? No, I've got independent journalists that I follow through Twitter and Substack and other places. And I know what's going on, generally more so than people that watch the news. And so what we've got to do when we're in business, where's my BSE 9000? Okay. Well, just like a computer, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you're putting good information in here, it's going to give you good results. And so we've got to stop making decisions on fear and emotion, which is what the news is driven to do, is to make you emotional, and get you to stop thinking about what you can actually do for yourself. So I'm not concerned about AB5, and I'm not concerned about AB5 national level. I mean, they're going to try like hell, but that's what they're paid to do. They're paid by very, very, very large corporations and unions to kill independent spirit, to kill independent business people, to put us out of business so that Swift supposedly can come in and take the freight. But that's just I'm just not concerned about it, because I know that Swift and Schneider JB Hunt can't replace us, because they can't provide the level of service that we do. They can't survive a spot market. They're great with contract rates, man. Nobody's better at signing up with Georgia Pacific to haul 1 million loads of toilet paper. They're great at it. Y'all have at it. Big volume, low cost. I wish y'all the best of luck. Go haul all that crap you want to. You can drop and hook that crap till you fall over. But there's a reason Swift, Schneider, JB Hunt aren't messing around in the spot market, because they can't do it. We can. We can. That's why there's 1 million owner-operators in this country. So, anyway, you are the key to your own success. And the less distracted you are, and the less terrified you are, and the less distracted you are, the better off you're going to be. So just turn it off. Don't worry about it. It's all going to work out in the end, because in all of human history, the bad guys have never won, ever, not one time.
That was profound.
Well, thank you for your service. Appreciate that.
You know, the one thing I like about being up here on a Sunday night is the bar's not open.
Well, that's a double-edged sword, because it's nice and quiet in here, but
True, but
I mean, some people would say that alcohol and podcasting don't mix, and there's a few TikToks I've seen come up in the last couple of days that might prove that.
not from us.
There's a couple of slurred speech, you know.
Well, that's a technical problem. That's like what we're having tonight. That's,
right. Technical
just
difficulty.
just a little audio, you know.
I love history, you know, and I guess what kind of fascinates me is you'll see, let's say, it could be anything. See a headline in the news, and we're kind of, it's like we're naturally predisposed to think that that's never happened before. But if you get in a history book, you can go all the way back to like the Romans and be like, oh, so this isn't the first time that humans have done this incredibly stupid thing that they're engaged in right now.
We have a long history of doing stupid things.
Right. We're real good at it.
Yeah. And history does repeat itself, by the way.
Over and over and over, many times again. Well, it's like we've talked about crypto and blockchain on this show, and we're fans. I'm a believer in the long term positive impact that blockchain can have on human civilization and human interaction and markets. But we're in the bleeding edge right now. And so wild and
emphasis on bleeding right now, okay?
Wild stuff is
we don't bleed out.
Wild stuff is going to happen when you're in the bleeding edge. And so, some of you may have seen some stories about the FTX crypto exchange has gone bankrupt. And some of my friends on Twitter have started uncovering. Just do this. Just Google FTX and Zelensky. You're welcome.
Now, for the record, I'm the one that brought this FTX to his attention. He had no idea it was even going on.
I would have seen it today. So
right. Okay. Well, I told him about it this morning. So, or yeah, maybe yesterday morning.
It was yesterday. Okay. Yeah, yesterday, and I hadn't heard anything about it yet.
Yeah.
But today about noon, some crypto journalists started dropping some little bombs on Twitter, and we all went, "Oh, so that's where the money went." Gotcha.
No, the answer to that is no. There is no more to the story. It's all it's speculative to begin with. Okay, it's hearsay. It's undocumented.
For the audio listeners, Purple Yeti has asked, Chris, you ever going to finish telling the story of what happened when Larry got drunk and fell in snow up in Wisconsin? Well, that pretty much is the story. Now, like he said, there's no video evidence because I respect my elders, and I was having to use the flashlight on my phone to dig his big ass out of the snow. So you can't run two things at once.
Don't believe everything you hear. Okay, it's alleged at best. Alleged at best. Okay, undocumented, alleged, hearsay, inadmissible.
Oh, Bill Taylor. We were talking about this at lunch today. Our foreign policy is a prime example. If we help someone, 20 years later, we will kill them.
Yeah.
We were talking about our good friends, Saddam Hussein, Gaddafi, Osama bin Laden, Noriega. Yeah, they were our good friends once upon a time, and they're all, yeah.
The Shah of Iran, the original Shah
of
Iran.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Remember him? Shah,
yeah.
What was his name? Muhammad something?
No. I don't know. The Shah of Iran.
The Shah, yeah. Take some of our money. We're good for it.
Yeah. You think these idiots would learn after a while, but hey, they probably getting paid on 1099.
You think the government pays on a 1099? You love that I'm the worst liar ever? Not even close, okay? Not even close. Unless you hang out this guy long enough, you'll figure out that half what he says is bullshit, okay? So,
well, whatever makes you.
Especially when he's trying to entertain.
You're going to have to take over for a minute. Talk.
And we're
When I started coughing, I hit the damn mute button again.
Was it fixed?
It is now. I apologize. You're going to have to start over.
Where did it go off? Where did it go off the rails?
Probably when you started saying, because I started to cough and I hit the button. So
anyway, I'm going to kind of give you a abbreviated version of what I just said. We were there we were on our way up to Grand Rapids to buy some trucks, some gliders. And so we stayed the night at Chris's house, and while we were there, we imbibed a little bit in the Bourbon Barn, and so anyway, all this allegedly this stuff that happened with me being buried in the snow, if it did happen, which I'm not saying that it did, if it did, I want Chris to tell the story about who was up the next morning, way before the rest of them were, waiting for their young asses to get down the lobby so we could get on the road. I'm waiting.
Okay. So we got to the hotel about 11:30 after the bourbon was consumption. And I think we were supposed to be downstairs at 6. And so I set an alarm for 5:30. Now, Carl is the one I just about didn't get out of the bed because I was like shaking. Like, hey, dude, come on, let's go. We were in the lobby at like 6:10. So, yeah. So anyway,
late.
Yeah, no, Carl was
Carl and my son were the latest of the two. Okay, the old man, the snowman. Okay, the guy who had to be pulled out of the snow was up where he's supposed to be at the time he was supposed to be. Okay.
Now,
these young bucks, they couldn't get up and run with the old man. Okay, and they weren't in the snow the night before, allegedly. Okay, so
the thing that was probably most interesting was when you ride somewhere with Carl. We were supposed to leave. We were supposed to leave Carl's house, go pick up Larry, and drive to Chicago. And we were supposed to be in Chicago to pick Chris up, I believe, at 7 p.m. Central Time. And so I'm a trip planner, so I calculated the time that I need to arrive at Carl's and leave Carl's. Well, I get to Carl's house on time, and the hood's up on his pickup truck. And I thought, oh, God, here we go. So 2 hours go by before we even leave. We're already 2 hours late. 2 hours, okay? And he's got one of those big Ram diesel 3/4 ton. And so he finally, as a battery or something, he gets his truck put back together, and we start heading west at a high rate of fuel consumption. And we pick Larry up, and y'all, we left 2 hours late. And we pulled in to pick up Chris Long at 7 p.m. Central Time on the dot because that Dodge was a screaming. I'd say the average cruising was probably 90 miles an hour. I mean, we were hauling ass. And I thought, okay, so the next morning, we're up at 6. We run through a McDonald's, grab a couple of biscuits, and we're off. And we've got to go, down from Naperville, down across 94, and we're going up to Grand Rapids. So Larry and Chris are behind us, and we're cruising up through there. I'm not paying attention to speed. We'll start snowing. And so I text Larry, and I'm like, hey, man, snow's picking up. Ground's covered up here at the 60-mile marker. Because I noticed Carl slowed down. I look over at the speedometer. That son of a bitch is going 78 miles an hour. It blowing snow. Snow's on the road. He must have been going 90. And I texted Larry like, never mind. You're fine. So it was, well, see, we left Saturday morning, and we were back home Sunday night, and it was somewhere around 1,200 miles. Y'all.
We came back with no trucks too, by the way.
Yeah.
All this, and we came back with no trucks.
Yeah, don't go anywhere with Carl Bonecutter because it's just it's an experiment. Anyway, God, we're so far off the rails.
Do we have rails?
Not really. I'm just trying my best not to cough straight into this mic and not push the damn mute button again.
Does laughing make you cough?
Yeah, well, talking.
What happened to all the cough drops I bought you?
I've got one in my mouth right now.
You do?
We, I was looking at we were talking about something last night, and so I was trying to just go through records to jog my memory. And I ended up going back through 2021 and looking at our load board list of all of our trucks and drivers.
We say load board. It's actually a record of all of our loads.
It's a spreadsheet. Yeah. Looking back at our spreadsheet. And we were looking for when did we hire somebody or something. And it's been interesting to me personally that we've hit this lull in quality applications. We started doing the podcast in August of 19, and we hired Seth in October. So October, August, September. So within 2 months of starting the podcast, we get Seth. Not long after that, we got Richie.
Christian, same day.
Christian, Carrie, people that are still here. But man, for the last 6 months, it's been
a little dry.
It's been a ghost town. And now, of course, the TikTok thing, God help me. Well,
it hasn't been dry in terms of not having people. We just haven't gotten these quality people that we're used to getting.
Right.
And part of it is we have a couple of times tried to be helpful to other former BCOs or people that we probably shouldn't have been, and so our gracious attempt at helping people
didn't work.
Ends up with us having to go to Janesville to get a truck. So,
right.
Anyway,
but
we won't
I've
that
tried
again,
to. I've tried to examine this, and I've got to believe that a part of it is because of all of the fear and the uncertainty and the the distractions and the propaganda. People have been terrorized now. It's been almost 1,000-day terrorist operation that we've been dealing with. And
even if the potential drivers weren't, their spouses are,
Right.
We've had several people who wanted to come here, and then when it came down to, making that final decision, and a lot of times we involve the spouse because we know how much of a commitment this takes. And the spouse is not on board because they're scared to death because of the news. Oh, what about fuel prices being this, this, and this, And, obviously they don't understand exactly what we do here, or they wouldn't be worried about it, but you can't overcome all the, the negativity that's out there that they believe,
Right. We can give you all of the best information. We can give you the support. What we can't give you is the desire. We can't give you the work ethic. We can't give you that.
Well, let's qualify that. A lot of people have the desire. They don't have the commitment to put in the work to achieve their desire. Okay, listen. Most of the BCOs who we work with, they come here because they think we're going to peel this little secret back, and they're going to find out that there's like a secret handshake, or there's a secret password to a load board, or some little easy way of clicking and making what they did before work all of a sudden. And then they find out when they get here that that's not what we do here. What we do here is bust our ass and work and make good decisions by putting in the time to research the information. Well, that's work. That's what they didn't want to do to begin with.
Right.
That's what got them where they were. And they come here and find out, oh shit, I got to work when I come here. Well, yeah. It's we have the same freight you do. Everything we do here, we do the same way you do it. We just do it better. We make better decisions. And it's disheartening to them. They come here and think, oh my God, I've got to drive and I've got to do this and I've even got to drive and have a plan. I can't just run by the seat of my pants. I've got to tell you which route I'm going to take and where I'm going to fuel and when I'm going to. Lord God, that's not why I became an owner-operator at Landstar. I did that because I don't want to work,
Right. Well, and then you come into contact with the really stressful situations of something's happened. I'm on the side of the road, and I'm going, okay, well, open the hood, get underneath, look and see what you can find. Oh, wait a minute, I got to get on the ground. I got to get dirty. I got to crawl under the truck. I'm like, yeah, you said you want to be an owner-operator. Well, this is what being an owner-operator is. It's not calling TA. That's not the first call. The first call is get under there and see if you can figure out what the problem is, having some tools, but
the TA doesn't have like a light, like a test light.
But, and I've said this many times, when I was a company driver, man, I had an Xbox in the truck. I had all kinds of entertainment. Now, if I went on the road right now, I would have a bag of clothes, I would have a bedroll, and I'd have 4 toolboxes and a briefcase. I mean, that's because that's what it takes. You are going to have to learn how to do some things on your trucks. One, because you have to understand the fundamentals of the truck so that one of these idiots doesn't try to tell you, that something's wrong when you know damn well that's not the problem. But there's a lot of stuff that you can do on your own that you don't have to pay $150 an hour for somebody that knows less than you do or knew less than you did 3 months ago before TA pulled them off the street and put their name on their shirt. You don't have to have any experience to go to work at TA. You can be flipping burgers today and busting down tires tomorrow. And then they'll train you up, kind of, because they're the best mechanics on the road, right?
Bill Taylor, you're smoking something. Put that comment up.
Larry, you running for office or are you trying to be politically correct? Just tell us you have been dealing with a new workforce.
It's not new. These guys have been driving for years. Okay? No. I wish it was new. Listen, do we have better luck with the new guys than we do the old guys? The new guys will listen. The old guys are hard-headed. Bill, I've literally, in this room, I've said this. Now, Chris, strike me dead if I'm lying. I've had people come in here and question what we do, and I look at them square and I say, sir, I don't say sir, but I'm going to leave that for right now. If what you did worked so well, why is it that you find yourself in a situation of being in here in my orientation wanting to drive one of my trucks because yours failed so miserably? Have I not said that?
100%.
I mean, let's be adults here. The reason you're here is because you have failed. And you say you want to learn how to do it a different way. But yet you want to come here and tell us how to do it. Or tell us how it won't work for you. There's nothing woke about that.
Well, I don't know. I was going to try to use that bull versus bear term, but I don't know what either of them means. I'm optimistic about the Utes.
The Utes?
Yeah, the Utes. I'm optimistic.
Was that not a great movie, by the way?
I don't even know.
My Cousin Benny is where it came from.
I've never seen that whole movie.
You have not?
I have not.
Do you know that girl, Melissa Torme, is that her name?
Didn't she win an Oscar?
She won an Oscar for that.
She deserved it.
That's a great movie, by the way.
So anyway, so now obviously I'm around a bunch of homeschool kids, right? I'm not around very many of the kids in the government schools, but I've watched my kids over the last 1,000 days, and I have seen some through social media. I think we don't need to write off that next generation just yet because they're still processing what they've seen over the last 3 years. They're still kind of working it out, but I think they're seeing contradictions. I have fascinating conversations with my 12-year-old because he's watching. And I can tell by the comments that he makes, he's looking at these contradictions and these oh gosh, the word just left me. Hypocritical things, right? And so you've got these forces that are fighting for control of these kids. And I think there's more and more of these kids that are going like, yeah, you know what? I'm just not ready to get on your team or your team. So I think that the next 5 to 10 years is going to be very interesting to watch because if things happen with blockchain and crypto the way I think they're going to go, these kids are going to go right to it, and they're not going to hesitate. They're not going to check up. They're not going to slow down. Just boom, and they're going to go in that other direction, and nothing's going to stop them. So, I think the workforce, and guys, let's be honest. Okay, I'm a Gen X guy, and we created this mess. It's our kids right now.
As my buddy Larry Wingett says and has written a book, your kids are your own damn fault.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it's funny because, I mean, Gen Xers, we were latchkey kids. Our parents never knew where the hell we were. I see stories of people being offended. I remember, was it last Super Bowl? Yeah. The last Super Bowl. And I watched Gen X people say, oh, thank God, it's going to be Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. Really? Like that's what you were so put at ease that Snoop Dogg was the entertainment for the halftime show because we certainly wouldn't want it to be somebody controversial. Are y'all serious right now? God almighty. So, look, we're going to work it out. History shows that we've always worked it out. But it comes down to work ethic and desire. And if you want it bad enough, you'll get it. And if you don't, you won't. And you'll flake out and you'll quit at the first sign of trouble. You're going to quit. And I mean, I'm not going to lock you in the truck and not let you. If you want to go, go. Right there's the door. You know, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
Well, not recognizing that the only way to have security is to provide it for yourself. You know, that's the thing. People, you know, it's what we do here is good, you know, but unfortunately it allows people to come here without making a very serious commitment because they can stick their toe in the water and see what it's like. And then when that water gets too cold or too hot, they can pull the toe out and run, you know. And, of course, you know, we're thinking about some different options here to maybe how to try to address that. But, you know, it's listen, business is hard, you know. Being, you know, 50% of all businesses, new businesses, fail in the first 5 years. 90% of first-time owner-operators fail in the first 2 years, okay? But you can't really compare owner-operators and businesses because you can't go lease purchase a business. You can a truck, okay? You can't go get in business with no money, no credit, no experience, no education, nothing. Banks won't give you the money because you're a bad risk, but you can get it in a truck with a signature and fog in a mirror. So that's why the failure rate is so high. You know, but it's so predatory that they're willing to take the chance because they make so much money on your failure. You know, it's not like that. When you fail in business, somebody's losing. Okay, that collateral somebody's holding that collateral and is taking a risk on you. That's not how it is here. Here, there is no failure. They just take the truck, lease it to somebody else, and go on. Kept everything you put into it.
Yep.
And we had a guy here 2 or 3 weeks ago that was going to lose $73,000 to walk away from a walk-away lease. Okay? $73,000.
That's the same guy that walked away from our truck in Janesville, Wisconsin?
It would be the same one.
He's really good at walking away.
Yeah, he's good at it. So, it's just, I'm old enough that this term is kind of funny, and it's, back in the day when when people wanted to try marriage out, they would do what we used to call shacking up. Okay, you just live together. Now, back in the day, that was not common like it is now. It was kind of like, oh, they're shacking up. Okay, they're living in sin. Some people would say, the old Baptist people sitting around the church, well, they're living in sin. But it let them act like they're married without having the commitment. And I use that term today with people with lease purchases because all they're doing is shacking up. There's no, they can get in and try. If it doesn't work out, they can bail out. There's no commitment. There's no papers. And there's no divorce required. And so it makes it easy to run as opposed to stick it out and work it out. I've been married for 46 years. 46 years, okay? Yeah. And in 46 years, listen, there's always rough patches. There's things that, especially if you're married to me, okay? There's things you have to deal with that aren't pleasant. But, listen, we didn't run. We just worked it out. And so that's what happens. When you go into business, you've got to make a commitment that I'm going to stick with this. I know it's not going to be easy every day. I know I'm going to run into rough things. But if it were easy, everybody would be doing it. It would have zero value. But because it's not, it has huge value, and most people can't do it. So if you stick with it and accomplish something and succeed with it, the reward on the other side is tremendous. Tremendous.
I'm going to put this article up on the screen that I found today. This 36-year-old mom of two brings in $144,000 a year as a professional truck driver. I love my job so much. This is today from NBC5 in Chicago, written by But here's the kicker. She says she works sporadically throughout the week, depending on the frequency with which she finds jobs on apps like Truckloads, which shows pick up and drop off jobs throughout the country that various companies need done. She's driven as far north as Massachusetts and as far south as Florida. Having your own truck comes with a lot of freedom, she says. There are costs, though. In 2021, her truck lease was $49,200. Maintenance was $2,665. Fuel was $19,336. But ultimately, her take-home pay was $73,007, considerably more than she's made on other jobs. And she has nearly 2 million followers on TikTok and was able to make an additional $36,000 in 2021 from promotional videos and advertising. So the headline to start with is complete nonsense. This 36-year-old mom does not bring in $144,000. She brings in half of that. Now, we extrapolated from her fuel cost.
We did the forensic analysis.
That she probably, at 7 miles per gallon, she probably ran 40,000 miles. If she got 8, maybe she ran 55,000. And made 73 grand. So, hey, that by themselves, those numbers are not bad. But let's talk about that $49,000 truck lease.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And so we backed it out, and she was about $3.50 per loaded mile, assuming that she did the 40,000 miles. She's probably somewhere in the $275 to $350 range, all miles to the truck, which is great, which was doable in 2021 and 2022. Now, what's she going to do when the rates drop and she's still got to pay that $49,000 lease? and there's not $2.75, $3.50, $4, $5 a mile freight on the board.
And her fuel cost is double this year.
Yeah. And also, which here's the elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. Let's assume that she did run the 40,000 miles. She probably ran a little bit more than that. Or let's go call it 50. I'm going to be generous, call it 50. You got a new business, and you worked half of what you could have. And so she could have, based on the numbers that she cleared 73,000. Well, if she would have worked full time, she could have made 156 or 146. But instead she made 73. Well, if she would have worked full time this year, and instead of making 73, she'd have made 150, then next year she probably would have had the savings to be able to survive. But and I've never met her, don't know anything about her. I don't wish any ill will on her, but I just know that the chances of her being bankrupt this time next year are exceedingly high. And that's unfortunate. But that's what happens to people that get into these truck leases. Everything's great when the market's up. But what you going to do when the market no longer supports what you want to do, how you want to do it, when you want to do it? That day's coming.
We have talked to a couple of different people in the last couple of weeks who have had their own authority, and in both cases they no longer have the authority because it was too expensive to keep because of insurance costs and high CSA scores and things like that. So we're thinking about putting together an episode where we talk to people who had their, because we hear this all the time. Landstar takes so much of money, I'll just go get my own authority. We go over this over and over and over again. What the value is of the things that Landstar, gives us for what appears to be 35%, which it's not. We've always talked about that too. But a couple of these people they're very, very sharp people. One of them has got substantial money behind him. And still can't make it work. It can't. The numbers just won't work, and so they're it's just the contrast between what we do and what they deal with. It's we take so much for granted here. I look at these guys and I'm thinking to myself, man, if you had done that at Landstar, how much different this would have turned out. Yeah. Now you couldn't hire those deadhead drivers you got, but it would have been a whole different picture. People ask me all the time, why don't you have your own authority? Well, let me tell you something. If I thought for a minute that it would be in my advantage to do it, I'm no dumbass. Okay, we would be there. But there is not any way on God's green. Now I'll take that back. We are looking at a particular reason to do it. You remember I tickled you. I teased this little thing last week at Luna Star. we have an idea that we may do, and there's a reason for it. It's not going to mean that we're going to leave Landstar, but there's a possibility we may do a branch of Blue Ribbon called Luna Star, where we can, let's just say, overcome some of the hiring difficulties that we have at Landstar with some people. So, and be able to put people in our program and give them the experience in our program, not having to go somewhere else and get it and come here. So I'll leave it at that.
Right. Well, keep in mind a couple of things. Number one, all good entrepreneurs have 10 new ideas every day, and generally 9 of them are terrible.
Most of the time, 11 of them are terrible.
Yeah. But we're trying to solve a problem. Okay, well, Chris, what's the problem? Here's the problem. I've had at least 6 minimum, maybe more, that people that I desperately wanted to put into a truck and get in this program. And they either couldn't qualify for Landstar because they drove a day cab or they didn't go far enough in one direction. Some nonsense about OTR experience. A couple unfortunate that were had some criminal thing from 20 years ago, and they couldn't get hired. But we can hire the guy that abandons our truck in Wisconsin, because he's qualified, experienced driver. That's what we're trying to overcome. So, we're looking around going, well, is there a place that we could put these people still under our influence and bring them along, and so it may not work. But everything's give and take, right? Landstar has specific requirements for reasons. Most of it has to do with insurance. Okay. Talked to a guy that had 2 trucks totaled, and guess how much the insurance company's going to pay? Zero. 2 totaled trucks, insurance company's not paying them a dime, and it sounds as though it was some sort of clerical error.
No.
They didn't have the driver on the truck.
The drivers had not been approved by the insurance carrier. Therefore, they weren't listed as approved drivers. Therefore, when they had wrecks, there was no coverage on those trucks because there was not an approved driver in it.
Right. So they didn't have the paperwork right for the insurance, and the insurance company didn't pay.
So they have 2 total trucks right now, new trucks.
Yeah.
That are worthless.
Yep. We've had 4 total trucks.
Insurance hadn't gone up a nickel. I hate saying that out loud.
That's risk, and when we measure risk against the BSE 9000, it doesn't make financial sense for us to leave Landstar and take on all the expense and all the risk and everything that comes with that. It does not make financial sense for us to do it at this point. Now, maybe we can partner with somebody. Maybe we can have something on the side. I don't know. We're thinking about it. But,
well, let's be clear. We're not thinking about leaving Landstar.
No, absolutely not.
We will always have a Landstar fleet. This is going to be, we hope, a feeder program. So we can get people in our influence, as use Chris's. I like that word you use, by the way, Chris. So that they can get the experience in our influence to be able to come to the BCO fleet, and be in our program for the year it takes for them to get the experience to get here. Listen, we've talked to people that have great character, great attitude, great pedigree. Let me give you an example. Guy maybe drove a day cab instead of a sleeper truck, and he only drove it 350 miles a day instead of 375. Mm-hmm. Now, does that make him a bad driver or an inexperienced driver?
Nope.
No. But technically speaking, he doesn't meet Landstar's requirements. Well, hell, listen, Landstar will let me hire a guy that will abandon my truck in Janesville, Wisconsin, but the son of a bitch meets the other requirements, okay?
Right.
But he's a turd, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want the turds, okay? We want the good people that we can give the experience to that makes Landstar happy, and then they can be in the program we can get them off the street, so to speak. So that's kind of what we're kicking around here. It's it's just something that we're working on the side, and I've been in talks with some people at Landstar, and we're just trying to make sure that all this is done correctly. Because the last thing I want to do is jeopardize my relationship with Landstar. So we're not going to do anything that's going to be that against their best wishes. So
and the bottom line is here that what's the goal of this? To get someone to own their first truck. There's nowhere else you should be owning your first truck than Landstar, period. Because it provides the structure, it provides the safety, it provides everything that you need for your business to survive that first 2 years. Now, you get a good solid business grown after a couple years and you want to spread your wings and fly. Well, now you're prepared to do that. But you're not prepared to take on that amount of risk and responsibility until you've gotten your feet wet and you've grown up a little bit. Most BCOs can't make it out of the toddler phase, as evidenced by their Facebook posts.
Yeah. Well, and
middle school.
and if they've been around us long enough, they probably won't make the decision to leave Landstar anyway. Because why? It doesn't unless you have a problem with CSA. Okay, a
Right.
lot of people find refuge in authority because they can hire themselves. Nobody else will. Okay, now it's okay until the insurance company says you can't drive the truck.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's a big assumption here that people don't understand. As long as Landstar hires you, Gallagher has to cover you. Okay, it doesn't matter what your record is. We've never hired a driver that had any kind of a record that caused our rates to go up ever. Okay,
Right.
so but you go out there on the open market, even some people whose trucks that we managed for them, who had insurance not with Gallagher, were paying a lot more money than we are with the truck here. And again, a lot of that's because of rating the drivers. So you go out there and you do this, and all of a sudden you hire some dud that's had a wreck or two, and all of a sudden now the insurance company says, "Hey, by the way, that guy you just hired, he can't drive your trucks."
Yeah.
What's what? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you look at all the things we talk about. Number 9, you got to have trailers. Okay, you got to be able to build, collect, and chase money, and be able to stay in business until it's paid. Because the last thing you want to do is go factor, okay? That's worse than lease purchase, factoring.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's not a good reason to do it unless you're forced to do it because you can't get hired by any of the fleets because your record.
Yeah.
So,
I worked for a small company, like 25 trucks one time. I lived in Columbus, Ohio. And I had a problem at night in the evening time at a shipper over on the east side of Columbus. And I talked to the dispatcher, and I'm like, "Well, dude, I'm 20 minutes from the house." Well, he said, "Well, go ahead and bobtail home. Leave the trailer there, bobtail home, come back and get it in the morning." Well, both of us got our asses chewed because that carrier did not keep bobtail unladen insurance, right? As long as they were hooked to a trailer, they were covered. There was never any reason for any of our trucks to bobtail anywhere, 25 trucks and probably 30 trailers. There was no reason for anybody to bobtail anywhere. So they didn't have bobtail deadhead insurance. And so the guy that authorized, he wasn't able to sit down for about a week. I didn't get in as much trouble, but the boss set me down. And what I appreciated about that was that he said, "I understand you're 20 minutes from home, okay? And the idea of staying in the truck 20 miles from home obviously sucks. But what happens if, rather than maybe having your wife come get you, you bobtail down the road and you get in a wreck? Well, you like having a job, right?" I went, "Yeah, I do like having a job. That's pretty handy."
Comes in handy on Fridays, right?
Right. And so he explained to me that my need to drive the truck home was not greater than their need to not buy insurance that was largely unnecessary for them. And it was one of those lessons along the way that I went, okay, well, I get it. I mean, it's a damn bobtail. It's not a personal vehicle. It's not there for me to drive around like I own it. And, but they had to make a decision on whether or not they were going to buy that insurance, and it wasn't necessary, so they didn't buy it. But that means we couldn't bobtail the trucks around without a trailer, and so we didn't. Now, I'm sure there's somebody listening to the sound of my voice. "Oh, I can't believe what." Shut up. Until you've had to stroke that check, shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. And again, I ought to be able to go home. Well, of course, Uber didn't exist then, but now
taxis did.
Well, you rode a taxi in Columbus, Ohio. No, thank you.
That's that or shoe leather. I mean,
right? Yeah, it's better than walking.
Could be.
But that experience of working for that small carrier compared to the big giant guy came from Schneider to them. And it was culture shock. It was such a different experience than, as they've got a lady and she's sitting there and she's billing customers and, and this was 2008 and 9 and the fuel prices were shooting up. And he looked at me one day, we were talking business and he goes, you realize that everybody wants 90-day terms now. And I'm like, what's that mean? And he's like, they want 90 days to pay the freight bill. I'm like, okay. And he was like, well, we're paying for the fuel with today's money, but we're getting paid
with tomorrow's money
90 days from now.
Yeah.
I went, oh, okay. And then I think I've told this before, but I'd hurt my back. And so to keep me off a workers' comp, whatever it was, they gave me light duty. So I'd come in and have me file papers.
Desk jockey.
And I was filing rec cons, right? And I looked at this rec con. It was a load that I had done 2 or 3 months before. It had paid. And it was $300 to haul a load from Baltimore to Columbus. Now, that's 475 miles. And it was $300. And I just looked at that. And, of course, I had all the cheap freight. How dare you? And so I walked in his office, and I said, hey, have a look at this. And he was like, yeah, freight bill. I said, $300? He was like, would you rather come back for free?
Well, some people would have said yes.
And I said, but, dude, $300? And he said, well, what'd you get going out there? I said, $1,500. He said, okay. So that's $1,800 for the round. I said, yeah. And he said, so how many miles was it? And I went, 925. And he was like, our cost is $1.25. You made $1.50. Congratulations. You made a profit. And I'm just standing there slack-jawed. But because I'm a math guy, I'm going, God damn it, he's making sense. Now,
so you met me long before you knew you met me.
Oh, listen, I need to take you to Columbus sometime and introduce you to this guy because y'all would love each other. Now, here's
like you might be my uncle or something.
Here's the fun thing. When I went to work for them, I want to say in like May of 2008, they had this air freight deal. I think it was Pilot Air. And we would take air freight from Columbus out to D.C., and I would get the other half of it on Friday night. So I would take it out there Sunday night, and then there would be another run that came back Friday night. Well, because there was no Qualcomm and none of that stuff, when they would dispatch me on a load, they would hand me the rate con. Now they would take a piece of black marker and they would mark out the rate, which I figured out real quick. If you held that rate con up to the light, you could see the numbers.
It's called redacted, by the way.
It was redacted.
Yeah. It's a procedure that the FBI created. Okay.
When I started there in May of 2008, that truck was making about $12,000 a week. All right. And now I wasn't really coherent enough at the time to really think that through. I mean, I was getting paid, like, I don't know, 38 cents a mile or something. But when 2009 happened, that truck went from making 12 to 4 in about a week because that air freight just disappeared. It was gone. And then we're doing because I was doing like $1,500 to $1,800 rounds out and back 3 times a week. And I watched that. And so when I saw that happen, I went into his office and I'm like, bruh, hey, because Aero Trucking's going down at this point. Jevic. Do you remember Jevic?
I do.
Jevic. Oh, that's what it was. Jevic had just gone down. It was in Transport Topics, and I had the paper. And I walked in, and I slapped it down on his desk, and I went, dude, Jevic just went belly up. And he was like, yeah, I saw that. And I'm like, okay, well, my truck just went from making $12,000 a week to $4,000 a week. And he looked at me kind of weird, like,
how do you know that?
How do you know that? We skipped that part. But at least I think he realized, oh, okay, this dumb son of a bitch is paying attention. And I'm like, okay, am I okay? And he went, yeah. He was like, man, I got enough money in the bank that I could pay y'all to haul empty trailers for 6 months. And I went, oh, okay, well, that's logical and consistent. It makes all kinds of sense. And, you know, and there we were, you know. And then they started a little brokerage there in the office, and where the carrier was hauling the loads for the little brokerage they built, and had it's all still there. But so many good lessons there that were taught to me without emotion. It was just, well, here's the numbers. And I went, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
Did you see the news today where FedEx Freight's laying off massive layoffs?
Mm-hmm.
LTL. Let's answer this question here because it's
Which
been
one?
up there for 10 minutes now. So somebody want to know what the BSE 9000 stood for, and then there's a couple of people try to answer it. But explain what it is and why we call it this and why it's an important tool.
Well, for whatever reason, my iPad is not. Let me do this.
You can't see it?
No, I can see it, but my iPad is not responding.
Don't touch it. You'll make static come back.
Right. What's the BSE 9000 stand for?
Well, somebody answered that.
Did that come up for you?
Yeah, I see it.
I don't see it on my screen. Wow. Bullshit Eliminator 9000.
Yeah, the 9000 we just pulled out of thin air. But the BSC stands for Bullshit Eliminator. Now, why is that, Chris? Well, how does that machine right there eliminate the bullshit? Now, we're talking about bullshit from drivers. Let's be clear here, okay?
Right.
Because Chris is our fleet manager. He manages our drivers. And so when they call him with this bullshit, okay, he tells them to pull that out. And let's separate the bullshit from facts now, okay? Because now everything is math. Everything in business is math. Let me say that again. Everything in business is math.
Yep.
You can't do business and not do math. Well, a lot of people have to have a calculator to do math because they can't do it in their head. So we have the BSE 9000 on standby so that when somebody calls Chris with the bullshit, he can pull it out and go, no, that's not how it is. You can make your appointment tomorrow at 1 o'clock because here's the reason why. You're this far out. You got this many hours. The math says, yes, you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't take in the fact that you want to stop 14 times and get out. It doesn't take in the fact that you want to stop at a certain truck stop tonight that puts you out of position to make it tomorrow. That's where the bullshit eliminator comes from.
Right.
The math says it's doable.
Right.
Okay? The bullshit driver has to be convinced of it.
Right. I will.
Did I do a pretty good job explaining that?
I'll have guys call me. Hey, man, I don't think I can make this delivery. Okay. So I go to the GPS tracker. I look at their location. And then I go, okay, well, so what's the address of where he's going? Okay. Well, you're 362 miles out. Okay. And I do 362 miles and I divide by 55. And I add that to the current time. So the current time is 22:35. So if that was 362 divided by 55, 6.58 plus 22:30. If you left now and didn't have to take a break, you'd be there at 5. If you had to take a 10-hour break, you'd be there at 1500 tomorrow. It's just math, you know. But a lot of times I say, well, how far out are you? GPS says 6 hours. I don't care what the GPS says. What are the miles? Well, Google said, I don't care. What are the miles? And if you tell me the miles, I can tell you the amount of time that it should take you to drive that distance. You add that to the current time, and that's it, you know. But it also works for business stuff. Well, yeah, I can afford X. No, you can't. You just do the math. That's all it takes. And then if you have the, you know, we got made fun of by Mr. Fleet Owner. Well, you know, well, they say they have all this data. Yeah, the data. We have all the data. And I can go through our spreadsheet and I can tell you, like, for example, what the average posted weight of every load that we've hauled.
So, Jay corrected me. It's not a layoff, it's a furlough. Furlough spelled F-U-R-L-O-U-G-H, by the way, Jay. But either way, a bunch of people don't have a job for the next 4 months.
Right.
Call it what you want to. They do get their health benefits are going to stay intact, which is, I guess, okay. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the market is such that they don't need those people in LTL.
Right.
How many times have we talked about LTL going to be the casualty of this industry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, LTL will not survive the blockchain revolution.
No.
Big thing of the past.
It won't survive till the blockchain revolution. But
No.
somebody wants to talk about the load board. If I click this, can you see it? Okay.
I got it.
All
Is
right.
your load board the same as the one online? Because the one online looks exactly like the real one, just doesn't have the rates. The reason I asked is because there's hardly any freight on the demo one. I don't know 100% about that. I do know that years
when
ago.
you say our load board, do you mean the load board that we have as Landstar BCOs? Or are you misinterpreting what Chris said earlier about our load board that we
No.
keep up with our loads?
Well, I think he's talking about Landstar because there's a demo one you can look at, and then there's also one. And I used it when I was at ATS one time. When I was first started looking into Landstar, you could just sign up and you could see loads of. You wouldn't see any money, but you saw phone numbers.
That's the carrier. That's the load board for outside carriers. Okay, it's not the same as a load board for BCOs because the outside carrier doesn't have any rates on it. Because as an outside carrier, every rate is negotiated. Right. As a BCO, there's very little negotiation. The rates are published. You know what the rates are when you call. The only negotiation is if there's going to be anything added for accessorial or things like that. But the rate
or if it's a broker load and
well, yeah, if it's an advertised load, yeah, a bid load. But that's the difference. And the demo load board, I don't know what the demo is. I mean, they make. First of all, it's not real, so it's just there for you to practice on.
Yeah, it could have some real loads on it as an example, but
well, let me tell you something. The real load board has a bunch of loads that aren't on it, okay, aren't real, so that would make it a correct demo.
Well, I think my voice has had about all this I can handle. We've gone an hour and 38, but there's probably only about 52 minutes of usable content from this one. So I'm going to have fun editing the audio for this one.
Lee, to answer your question, the bump everybody's complaining because the bump did not come this year. There is no holiday bump. We'd already been in it. It's just everybody's stocked up. The inventories are high everywhere. There's no need for it. Everybody over inventoried when the lockdown came off and the supply chain interruption everybody was way over inventoried, so there's not going to be a bump. So no, they don't need them for the holidays. The holidays already happened. So
I saw I think Rachel had wrote on Freight Waves that like they're literally giving inventory away right now because they've got too much of everything.
Yeah. Well, my son is in the logistics business. Okay. There's no ramp up for the holidays. It's already happened.
Yeah,
and we didn't see a bump because there wasn't a bump. Everybody's stocked up. So.
All right, y'all. Well, I'm ready to go to bed. So it's been fun. It's been real, but had been real fun.
Now next week I'm going to be in Florida, but we're still going to come on Sunday night. I may be poolside, beachside. A little umbrella in my drink, I don't know, but we'll do it on Sunday night, and it'll all be good. So appreciate you guys listening and like and subscribe. We need to do this again, Chris, because we screwed it up at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Please understand that. Oh, can you make that go away?
Yeah.
There you go. Please help us support our sponsor, okay? They help us do this. They give us a little bit of money for doing this, so we appreciate that, and we appreciate you giving them your support. Also, remember that we are stocking distributors of the catalyst, fuel-borne catalyst, and also the OPS products. We have them at the warehouse right here in Hurricane, West Virginia. I-64, exit 39, or coming down I-77. We're just a bump off of I-77 on 64. So.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks for everything. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next week, okay? Hopefully by then, Chris's voice will come back to me.
Yeah.